Hey, sports card fans, it's John, Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well, and Happy New Year to all of you. Earlier tonight, I watched the Penn State Boise State college football playoff game. Penn State won, so really happy about that. Although, to be honest, they should have won by a greater margin. They do have some improvement to do, both on offense and defense, especially having to face either Notre Dame or Georgia in the next round. Two very tough teams, but we'll see how the game plays out next Thursday. All right, this is my weekly video series in which I choose my 5 favorite cards of a particular player. Now, at the end of last week's video, I spun the wheel of names and it landed on Eddie Mathews. Now, just like all of the previous videos in this series, it was a tough decision coming up with my top 5 favorite cards for Eddie Mathews. There's so many great looking cards of him, and would not surprise me if some of you choose different cards than I have chosen for my top 5. Now, here is where I want you to participate as well. In the description of this video, I will have a link to the PSA basic registry for Eddie Mathews. Now, this includes his Topps cards from 1952 to 1968, as well as his Bowman cards for 1953, 54, and 55. So in all, there are 20 cards to choose from. So I'd like you to click on that link, check out all 20 cards in that checklist, and let me know in the comments which are your top 5 favorite Eddie Mathews cards. Now, last week was Brooks Robinson. So before I get into my top 5 favorite Eddie Mathews cards, I'm going to do a summary of your responses from last week's video and let you know which are your top 5 favorite Brooks Robinson cards. Then I'll get into my top 5 favorite Eddie Mathews cards. I'll show off a couple Eddie Mathews cards I have in my collection, and then I'll spin the wheel of names again to see which player will be featured in next week's video. All right, there were 17 of you who responded to last week's video with your votes as to what were your top 5 Brooks Robinson cards. Thank you to all of you who took the time to respond. And as a reminder, in the comments of this video, when you give me your top 5 Eddie Mathews cards, if you could number them 1 through 5, 1 being your most favorite Eddie Mathews card and number 5 being your 5th favorite Eddie Mathews card, that would help me in my tabulation here. So what I really like about this series that I'm doing is finding out all the different opinions and thoughts as to what are your favorite cards of a particular player. I love seeing people choose cards that I did not choose for my top 5. It just shows that there are so many great cards of all these players, and some of you prefer some of the cards than others, and I just find it very interesting. So the top 5 vote getters for the Brooks Robinson cards, 11 of you voted for his 1957 Topps rookie card and his 1973 Topps card. 9 of you voted for his 1975 Topps card, and 7 of you voted for both his 1959 Topps card and his 1960 Topps card. There are a few cards that didn't get any votes: his 1960 Leaf card and his 1962, 1966, and 1976 Topps cards. All right, so out of these 5 top vote getters, how did you rank these cards? And I'll show you how it compares to how I chose my top 5 favorite cards. All right, at number 5 came in the 1973 Topps card. I actually had that as my top number 1 favorite Brooks Robinson card. At number 4, you ranked his 1960 Topps card. I had it at number 5 on my list. At number 3, you chose his 1975 Topps card. I didn't have that card in my top 5 list. So again, that's really interesting to find that a lot of you like his 1975 Topps card. At number 2 is his 1957 Topps rookie card. I had that at number 3 on my list. And at number 1, you chose his 1959 Topps card, and that's another card that I didn't have in my top 5. So again, really like seeing these responses and which cards you choose as your favorite and see how that compares to my top 5. All right, let's get into the Eddie Mathews cards, and again, I'm going off the PSA Basic Set Registry, his 20 cards from 1952 through 1968. And at number 5, I chose his 1959 Topps card. Just like that overall image of Eddie Mathews, yeah, it's a staged picture of him, but just like that follow-through image, that great Braves uniform from the 50s. You have that yellow background there of the 59 Topps design that goes great with the red lettering of his name and the Milwaukee Braves, and you have that Braves logo there all in red at the bottom left. So just an overall, to me, a great eye appeal card. At number 4, I chose his 1953 Bowman card. Now, a similar image to the previous card there, but again, that 53 Bowman set just has some great images and just shows a really young Eddie Mathews. Again, a similar posed shot. You see the stadium in the background, and overall, I think it's just a really sharp card. At number 3, I chose his 1954 Topps card. You got that great design of the 54 Topps set with the two images there. Eddie Mathews there with that little smirk or smile on his face. That light blue background really offsets and goes with the dark blue of his cap and the gray of his uniform. And then you have in the top left the Braves logo there with the yellows and the reds and blues. Just overall, the color of the card just jumps out at you, and I really like the overall look of his 1954 Topps card. All right, at number 2, I chose his 1953 Topps card. Now, to me, that's just a great image. It's the artist's rendition of a photograph there. Now, he does sort of appear to have a bit of a unibrow in the picture, but just that smile, the youthful look of Eddie Mathews. And again, you have that Boston Braves mascot or logo there in the bottom right. And what I like about this as well is the overall color combination, because the National League players had that black sort of border at the bottom for 53 Topps. For the American League players, I believe it was red and black for the National League. So again, just the overall image there of Eddie Mathews in his 1953 Topps card, to me, is just outstanding. And the overall colors used in this particular card just stand out to me. All right, for my number 1 favorite Eddie Mathews card, I chose his 1952 Topps rookie card. Again, and now he's not smiling in this image here, but again, a really youthful Eddie Mathews. You have that signature there, Edwin Lee Mathews. I think this may be the only time that he, with the facsimile signatures, I could be wrong, but that he included his middle name. Again, you have that sort of marquee design at the bottom there with the 52 Topps set, and you have that Boston Braves logo there down at the bottom as well. And the more I look at this card, and maybe once I say this, you'll see it as well, but to me, that image almost looks like a young Greg Maddux. Once I thought about that, I don't know if I'm going to be able to see this card in the same light ever again, because I'm probably always going to associate him almost looking like a young Greg Maddux. But there's my number one favorite Eddie Mathews cards, and I'm going to switch the camera around here and show off the couple Eddie Mathews cards that I have in my collection. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, I only have a couple Eddie Mathews cards in my collection. It's a player that I haven't focused on yet in terms of building any type of player collection. I just happened to come across one. I forget which card show I was at. I'm not sure if it was Strongsville, possibly, that I had a few dollars left in my budget and found this one, Eddie Mathews. And then the other one is one of the multiple ones I bought from my LCS that included the couple Mickey Mantles and Stan Musial and Willie Mays cards that I have. And so that's the first one here, the 1953 Topps Eddie Mathews. And this is a great example of that card. Very little chipping on the black border there, fairly well centered. Really love the image on that. No creases that I can tell. Really nice example. Here is the back of it. A little off center top to bottom, but overall a really nice clean copy. I apologize, it is in a Beckett holder and there's just so much plastic surrounding this card here, but there we go. It happens to be graded a BBG 6. We'll see what it gets when I eventually cross it over to PSA. Don't really care what the ultimate grade that PSA gives it. I just think this is a great looking copy of his 53 Topps card. And then the only other card that I have of Eddie Mathews is his 1961 Topps card. I saw this, fell in love with the centering. I don't think it was very expensive at all. I probably could have looked it up, but I bet you I didn't pay more than maybe 20, 30 bucks for this card. Really great example there. A lot of times with the 61s, you get some ink dots in the bottom here, either in that section there, depending on the color, or that one there. And this is free of that. Sometimes I've seen even the borders, the black borders on these 61s have small little ink marks, but this is free of that. Here is the, whoop, there we go. Here's the back of the card, nicely centered as well. And I think what struck me the most about this card here and the condition, hopefully you didn't see it yet. I tried to just not focus on the grade when I show off these cards, but I don't know if any of you would think that this is just a PSA 5. And like I said, I got a great deal on it. I don't think I spent more than $30 on this card. And just a great example of Eddie Mathews. So yeah, those are my only two Eddie Mathews cards in my collection. Hopefully someday I'll get to add more. And so now I'm going to turn things around and spin the Wheel of Names. All right, here are the remaining names from my original 40 player list. You can quickly see which names are left to select from. And again, one last reminder, don't forget, in the comments or in the description of this video is the link to the Eddie Mathews checklist. Check through them and let me know in the comments which are your top 5 Eddie Mathews cards, and let's spin the wheel to see who the player will be for next week. And it's going to be George Brett. All right. Chris from Missouri, if you're watching this, I'd like to know in the comments what are your top 5 George Brett cards, and of course, from all of you, would love to know what are your top 5 George Brett cards. Again, it's going to be an interesting decision for me to pick my top 5 favorite. Of course, we're getting into the cards for George Brett. His rookie was in 75, but his career goes into the early 90s. So this is getting a little bit beyond vintage, but his rookie card was in 1975, so it counts. So it'll be, again, really interesting to find out, similar to Nolan Ryan, which was earlier in this series. What are your top 5 George Brett cards? And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.